All right, what's up? So I'm gonna try to make a video about things to know when you're getting ready to stop being a company driver to start to thinking about switching over to be an owner operator. And I guess I want to go ahead and like break out, some of the do's and don'ts, things that you can like go ahead and do it beforehand before you jump out there, right? Maybe that may help the situation, especially if you've been driving for a while and you want to like make that switch. So it's gonna be completely different because that's kind of how I was. Like I was a company driver for 7 years at the same company. And the last 3 years of that company, I was making like $80,000 a year, so it's like $80,000 a year. And I was young. I was, 2017, it was 31. So yeah, so age of 31, 30 is, oh no, take it back. I gotta rewind it. Okay, so I was 31 when I became an owner operator. So from 30, 29, 28, I was making like 80 grand a year. Well, anyway, I went from that to like going on my own, trying to at least make the same thing or make more. So it's a little scary when you can quote unquote make good money and then you try to jump out there and try to go do things on your own, because there's a possibility that you may go out there and you may not make nowhere near what you used to make. You know what I mean? That's a possibility. So that's kind of reason why a lot of people have to think about it. So before you really decide to be an owner operator, you got to think about, are you willing to get out there and risk, maybe taking a bad step for a while, because you'll eventually catch back up. Eventually, it may take a while, but you got to be ready to think about, are you willing to take a bad step as far as the money that you possibly can make? Because the money's different now, because when you're a company driver, all that you have to do is drive the truck. That's it. You ain't got to worry about like maintenance and all that stuff. You got to do your pre-trip no matter what, but you ain't got to worry about paying for anything that goes wrong with the truck or any all that stuff. You ain't got to pay insurance. You ain't worry about none of that. So the only thing you have to do is you're just really a technician. You just really are physically driving the truck, and that's pretty much it. But when you become an owner operator, it's like now you're the owner operator. I mean, you're the truck driver. You're the manager of the truck, of the business, the truck, and you gotta do all the other stuff. So you gotta get all the things in line. Like you gotta do everything else in line. Like you gotta get your accountant straight. You gotta get all that stuff straight, right? But I'll get to that. That's kind of really important right now. Main thing that I would say a person should do is try to have a little change saved up for like, okay, first you gotta figure out the reason why you want to become my own operator. Because like I tell people all the time, if you only plan on being an owner operator just so you feel like you can make more money, but you don't plan on spending, meaning you don't plan on getting more trucks, you don't plan on getting more trucks, you don't plan on expanding, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's probably not really worth becoming an owner operator. Because like if you're a truck driver and you're making $70,000 or plus just being a company driver, working 40 to 60 hours a week, and you're making $100,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, and you want to become an owner operator, if it's for the money, if it's all about the money, then it's really not worth it. And I say that because and this is only, and I'm talking about the people who are trying to go off to be a leased owner operator, not a person that's gonna go get their own authority, because I don't have any information on that. Like I don't have my own authority, so I can't really give you information on getting your own authority. But what I can do is get information on those guys who want to go be an owner operator and lease on to a carrier. That doesn't mean you're going to be doing a lease purchase with a truck. Lease on to a carrier is is pretty much an owner operator that operates like a company driver, except he manages his own truck. And he manages his own truck, and the company that he's pulling loads for gets a percentage or a piece of his pie. When you have your own authority, you get that whole pizza. That whole pizza is yours. Everything 100% is yours. You kick out more money, but you have the potential to make more money because everything is on you. That trailer, that truck, whatever. And then you have your power onlys that's kind of like the same, but without the trailer, and you can use somebody else's trailer. But I'm talking about like the people who have their own authority, like they're not leased on to anyone. I don't have info on that, but I do have info with someone that do lease on to carriers. So there's carriers that have company drivers and they have own operators. Own operators are just like company drivers, except they operate their own truck, which means they have the opportunity to still make as much money as they want to make. That's kind of how that works. It's just you're just not gonna make as much as the person who has their own authority, because you don't have the potential to make as much as the person who has their own authority, because because the person that has authority is now they are the Swift, they are the JB Hunt, they are the Snyder, they are the whatever you see on these big trucks. Those companies have their own authority. People who are least on the carriers are people who pull loads for JB Hunt, Swift, Snyder, but they're on it. It's almost like a franchise. You look at it, I guess the better example would be, it's almost like a franchise, right? Like somebody may say, I own a couple restaurants. You're like, oh, what's the name of your restaurants? I own a couple Chick-fil-A's. It's the same thing. It's kind of like Chick-fil-A is the name, but I own the Chick-fil-A. Well, I guess the Chick-fil-A is a bad example because Chick-fil-A don't let their franchisees own multiple stores. So let's say I own a couple Subways. Okay, so Subway is the name, so which means is Subway is the big entity that's there, but I may own that, so I may own a couple Subways, kind of like Rick Ross own a couple Wingstop. Like Rick Ross does not own Wingstop, but he owns some Wingstops. It's kind of like that. It's like he operates a couple Wingstop restaurants. That's kind of how it is for an owner operator truck like me. I pretty much operate my own truck. I operate my own business. I operate my own drivers, those trucks, but I get my freight, I get my loads from the bigger company, which would be, for me, would be like XPO, or when I had a truck with Landstar. Like they provide the work. They're the plug. I'll give you an example for my street guys. They provide the work, and you pretty much you do what you gotta do. That's where we're at. So I wanted to get that clear, because I know a lot of people ask me, should I get my own authority? And I was like, I don't know if you should. I don't have my own authority. I don't have no plans on getting my own authority. And that's only because of how things I have in my life and how I have my life set up for what I'm trying to do with other things I have. I don't feel like I have the need to have my own authority, and I don't have the need for it. Some people feel like they do. Some people want that. I'm okay with, doing how I do, where I come in for XPO. XPO provide as much work as I can do, as I want to do, and I could add trucks onto that, and they already have a system. So all I have to do is add a truck, put a driver in that truck, and that driver just pretty much operates that truck on the XPO system the same way I do, and just repeat what I do. So if they can repeat what I do, I just tell them to do what I do the same way. I could pretty much tell them what kind of money they can make, and and I can get them 60, and I would pay them 60% of that. You know what I mean? Which is pretty decent. Meaning, if the driver can generate, like $2,000 a week, most likely they could pretty much, if they could do like 2,000 with 60% of 2,000, I think it's like 1,200. So they can make 1,200, and I can make the other 800. We could split down like that 60-40 right there. You know what I mean? And that's them only working like 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's pretty simple. All they have to do is come in, get a load, take it somewhere, drop it, get it empty, bring it back, do like a yard pull, get a load, go to the rail, get a load, bring it back to the yard. They're done for the day. That's 8 to 10 hours a day, and they go home 5 days a week. It's like, okay, you only work 50 hours a week, but you made, whatever you made for the week, $1,200 a week for that. You know what I mean? For $1,200 plus, and it was easy, and you still have your whole day, because you start early in the morning and you get off in the afternoon around 3 or 4 o'clock. You still have all night to do whatever you want to do. And that's my little system. That's kind of how I'm going to operate my thing. Maybe I'm getting off track. Okay, so let me move on. Okay, another things that a person want to look at is now some people may want to do it, and they may want to be an operator, and they may only want to have one truck, and they're doing it just because they want the freedom, because you do get that. Like you do get the freedom to come in and be like, nah, I don't want to do that load today. I'm just going to kick it at the house. Or I'm going to take off for a week. See, you can do that when you're an operator, but when you're a company driver, nah, you got to do them folks tell you to do them. You can't just be taking off when you want to. You probably, every now and then, but not all the time. Like then I can go in and say, I ain't coming back for 2 weeks. It's cool. Like it's kind of like that. That's kind of how it is. You have the freedom. I'm only speaking for the companies I have dealt with. I know there's companies that do forced dispatching and stuff. I don't fool with them. I was only going to go them if I was like desperate and I had to just do what I had to do until I get back on my feet. But I don't fool with companies that do that forced dispatching stuff. Like they try to force dispatch me. Nah, I'm good on that. I don't care how much you're paying. Nah, with that, you ain't gonna tell me. You're not gonna tell me like I can't take off when I want to take off. Like nah. So that's another part. You have the freedom to take off when you take off, because you're pretty much operating your business. And that's the thing is, you got to understand you still have a business to run. So like you have your expenses and all that stuff. So if you taking off for weeks and time, you're gonna be in the negative, because you're gonna owe them money because you didn't generate any income for the week. So you're gonna owe them some money until you could get back rolling. If you could handle that and afford that, it's cool. All right, so that's one thing. So if you're trying to do this just for freedom, then it's understandable. But if you're only trying to do it simply just for the money, then if you just want to make a little bit more, or you make the same money, because you're gonna pretty much, like I said, you can go get a good job working for LTL company or FedEx or UPS or Walmart and make more than most of the owner operator, the one horse owner operators that you see out there. One horse meaning one truck. You can make more money than them and not have the responsibility. You know what I mean? You just have to have somebody to do whatever the boss tells you to do. You know what I mean? Other than that, if you're only doing it for that reason, then you need to probably stick to just doing that if you don't have any plans on expanding. But when you're on, like I said, when you're owner operator, like what I'm doing or I'm trying to create, you got an opportunity to make more money because, okay, I can go get the truck I drive and I can figure it out, do what it needs to do, and then based off how I want to run my business, I can get that truck and use that, whatever I generate there, make some money, save that bread up, take that money and put right back into the business, which means expanding the business, which means spending money on purchasing another truck, which means I purchase another truck, I can add a driver and have that driver do the same thing I do and just have him, give him a percentage of what the truck would do. Like I said, if the truck can do 2,000, that's 60%, that's 1,200 for him. In which I know that could be done because it's kind of like I've already like created the model to figure out what it takes to do that and try to make it the easiest way. What's the easiest way for to do that where drivers will feel comfortable and enjoy doing that without having the responsibility of keeping the maintenance on the truck and doing all that. And that's would be my position. I would come in and I would take care of whatever needs to get done to the truck. So if you're willing to do that, willing to be okay with that, then that's a good route to go, because now you can add as many trucks you want to, and you add as many drivers you want to, and you have no limit to how much money you make. So if you're into the business part about it, then this is definitely for you. Okay, things to look out for is what type of truck you're going to be getting. And like me, I'm a Detroit 60 12.7 type of guy, which means I will not buy a truck that don't have a Detroit 60 12.7 liter engine in it. Like that's the truck, that's the engine that I trust and rely by. I'm not saying that. This is just me, my opinion. So this is how I run it, right? So you will have to figure out what kind of trucks you'll be looking to get. Like before I knew about glider trucks, I thought I only can get 12.7s in 2003s and under trucks. So that's why I only look at trucks that was built in 2003 and older. Well, now through the years I found out they have a thing called glider trucks, which means someone's took a newer truck, which you can be a 2021 and under, and put a 12.7 Detroit 60 glider kit into the truck, which means you have a new truck, but it's operating under the old system, which is 12.7, which, you know, and some of them trucks can get real expensive, but then they're that, like I said, people trust them engines, people trust that system. I know like now, next truck, a couple trucks I'm looking at now are, I think 2011, 2014, and they had a 12.7 in it, and I'm looking to spend, I'm looking at some on truck paper, because that's why I look for my trucks, truck paper. And they're going to cost, and looking like they're going to be costing between 25 to 40 grand for that type of truck. And these are 2011 to 2014, that window truck, but they have the 12.7 because I trust the 12.7. But it's like I said, you have to figure out what kind of truck you're looking for. You got to figure out, like, if you do plan on getting drivers, you have to think about what kind of drivers you're going to be getting. You're going to be getting a lot of new drivers, because a lot of new drivers that's been getting their license from 2018 and up, a lot of them have a restricted license, which means they only can drive automatic, because they're making most of the new trucks in automatics. So that's another thing you have to think about, like, okay, what kind of truck I want to get, what kind of truck I want to like expand with, how much money I'm willing to spend. And I'm like me, I buy my trucks in cash. So if you depend on, like, you got to think about, if you're going to finance your truck, you got to think about, okay, that's a heavy, sometimes that can be a heavy overhead for me if something goes wrong with the one truck I have or the truck I have. Meaning, you go out here and you get $100,000 truck, $50,000 truck, and you having a payment every month, and your payment is, $2,400 a week, $3,000. I mean, $2,400 a month, $3,000 a month, whatever how it is with your credit and whoever you get your truck through. You got to calculate. You have to calculate all of that, right? Calculate all of that to the point where you're like, okay, you got to put that into your business. Like, can I afford to do that? Am I willing to take the risk? So it means it just depends on how much money you save. So usually I try to have at least $5,000 to $10,000 to the side on top of whatever else I'm gonna use to purchase trucks. So if I'm trying to get a truck and I'm trying to spend 25 grand, I need to have at least 35,000 probably in the bank before I actually buy the $25,000 truck. You know what I'm saying? I need that, and that's to operate the truck I have plus that truck. And I probably would buy that truck and operate it, both trucks at the same time before I get a driver in it, because I want to make sure everything is good with the truck. That's the mistake I made before, is I bought a truck and I didn't drive it on the road. I just bought it and drove it from Florida back to Atlanta. Everything was cool with it, but once I put a driver in it, then you put it on, have it go on the road and all that stuff, you kind of start realizing there's things going on with the truck, and you have to so that's one mistake I made with that. See, other mistakes: don't do a lease to own purchase. I ain't seen lease to own purchase that's ever been good. I could be wrong. So people, if y'all watching this video and y'all have seen with some lease to own purchase trucks was good, hey, put them in the comments and let anybody else that knows watching this video where they can go get them at. But I ain't never seen one that was ever good. People always get screwed with them lease to own purchases on the truck, meaning you gonna pretty much be a slave to whoever you lease to own to. You get a truck through them, you're gonna be a slave to them too, a lot of times. And it's almost like it's just always never a good situation. So be best if you can actually get your truck, you can control your financing in the truck. I mean, if you can go to your credit union, you can go to your bank, and you can get money, you can get a loan through them to get your own truck, or if you got your own cash, and buy a truck. Like I said, I always buy older trucks. I always buy trucks that I can just go pay cash for, that I can kind of control what goes on with that, and that makes me sleep better at night. But everybody have different risks. Everybody have different risk analysis, risk that they do. So with saying that, you have to figure out, you have to pretty much figure out how much you're willing to spend and what you want to do. If you want a new truck and whatever you've been used to, like I said, if you've been driving for years and you're used to that new fresh stuff, getting an old truck gonna be kind of weird and kind of hard. Like me, I worked for Swift for 7 years, so I was always in something new. But I'm used to having old stuff in my personal life. Like everything I have is old. Like my car's an old one. I always drove old box Chevys and Don'ts and stuff like that. So old stuff in my life, it ain't nothing new. You know what I mean? So I can drive an old something from back in the day. So when it came to a truck, that was easy. When I got my truck was a 2002. I bought it in 2007. I paid $12,700 for it, and that truck has made me, I don't know how much times over. Like when I bought that truck, I probably made the money back for that truck within 5 weeks after buying it, which was, great deal. Which, like I said, I knew when I got that truck, I was looking for that Pacific 12.7, 60 Detroit 60 series engine. That's what I was looking for, and that's why I bought that truck. I bought the truck it had, and I bought the truck. It had 1,400,000 miles on it. But one thing, those type of trucks, it had been rebuilt 300,000 miles earlier. So if you can find a truck, an older truck, and it's been rebuilt, that's just like buying a new truck if everything's on point. So look, when you buy an old truck, make sure that if you buy an old truck like that, make sure the motor's been rebuilt. Find out how long it's been rebuilt, and make sure they got the paperwork. If they don't have the paperwork, it's either they're lying, or either you need to come on down on the price. A lot of times on that, because that's the thing. The paperwork, having the paperwork showing about the rebuild and information on the build, where it was rebuilt from, means a lot when you're purchasing an old truck that's really old, and you kind of really don't know what you're really getting yourself into. So having that paperwork is very important. Other things to look out for is thinking about wherever you're living at. Like if you're in Atlanta and being a local driver and you want to be local, it's easy to be on operator and be local and still make a ton of money. I can't talk about the other states, but if you and that's all I really know. But if you want to be on operate, if you're gonna be over the road, then and if you're already over the road, then you kind of know how it works. But like one thing you need to know is you're gonna be over the road and that truck's gonna be out in different states and stuff. You need to be able to handle when the truck breaks down, being able to pay these different shops in these different states that operate however they operate, and you're not familiar with them. That's why I like being local, because when I'm local, I have my guys that I have I'll break down. I can break down 3 hours from where I'm at. I'll get the truck towed those 3 hours to wherever it needs to get towed to at the shops that I know before I take it to somewhere in that local area. Just because I know my systems, I know my guys, I know my mechanics. I know where I'm gonna get my tires, I know I'm gonna get my brakes. I have all that set up around me, have my system set up around me in the local area that I'm living, that when something goes wrong with the truck, I already know where it needs to go to get whatever done, because and it may cost more at certain places, may cost less, but it's just the relationships I have with these different places, I know that my work is going to get guaranteed and get it done and get done right. When I be doing stuff like when I had my trucks with, I had a truck with Landstar and they get broke up down in Virginia, West Virginia, wherever, and I send them to these shops to get something minor done, and they hold my truck for a week or two for something crazy. It's like, and I ain't got no control because I'm 8-9 hours away and I'm trying to manage the truck, manage the driver. For me, it could get kind of crazy. So that's one thing that I learned from in my position about when I was trying to expand, was I need to be able to operate and control what's around me with the system I already have. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about, this is just me, not anybody else. If you know other people that can do it better and do it their way, like, you know, people have different systems. I'm just telling you how my system is and how I get my system to work. What else you want to think about when you're trying to switch from being an owner operator, being a company driver, to owner operator? Now you have to do your own taxes and stuff like that. So best thing to do, and I'll try to put a link on the tax video in this video also, because I made a tax video a while back. Another thing you want to do is get set up with a good accountant or something. If you know someone in your family or somebody that know how to do bookkeeping and all that stuff, or get you a bookkeeping system. If you can do your own QuickBooks, whatever. But you want to make sure that you have money set aside for each quarter to send your state and send the federal government to every quarter. Like right now, I have my estimated that I have to send. So like January 15th, I'm gonna have to send like $2,500 to the federal government, and I'm gonna have to send like, I think, $700 to like Georgia. And I do that like every quarter. Those are my estimates. And then once my accountant goes over how I did for 2020, we'll readjust my estimate. And I have new estimates once April 15th get here. April 15th, I think September 15th, and I don't know, you know what I mean? So every quarter, whatever the quarters are. So that's kind of how we would do with that. So once you get that situated, get the tax situated, main thing is like me now, things I do is like, before when I got started, I didn't do the credit card thing. I was a Dave Ramsey follower, so I did everything in cash. And I can go back to say now that I don't do things that way no more. Now I have 2 American Express cards that I use, and pretty much with those cards I use them for everything. So I go and I want to buy a part for the truck, I use that card. If I'm getting something done, I use that card. But what I do is, that gives me time. That gives me at least 30 days to make that money back that I just used on the card. Whether it's I use my cash, then that money's gone right away. So my access to capital was gone. Whereas now, like for example, I had a situation where I had a $7,500 repair. Used the card, swiped it. That's all I had. I think on that one card was $7,500. $6,500. I had to put a G of my own money with. Anyway, but they gave me a window, because now my credit card statement was blank for whatever the month before was. So say my statement was and it was due to the end of that month. Statement was like $60 for the statement, because I only used $60 for that window before. So now all owing is $60. So now it's gonna give me almost a month and a half to pay back that $7,500. So what I do is I grind it out, and I might have had $700 in cash, but I didn't want to use my cash. I didn't want to risk my capital. So now I'm gonna grind it on out. I got $7,500. I'm gonna spend this $60 payment on the statement. Next month, the month and a half go by, I owe $7,500 for the next bill to come up. So I don't have to pay no interest, right? But now, since I had this month and a half plus whatever other time, I done built up about $13,000 now. So I dropped to $7,500, and now I'm down to $6-something thousand. See what I'm saying? Instead of me only having $7,500, spending $700, now I'm at zero. And if one thing happened, it's like, what I'm gonna do now? That's kind of how I like balance it. I don't never have to pay any interest, because like I said, I just use the time. I just leverage the time, just like I do my property, do the houses and the credit card the same way. I just leverage the time I have. So that's the thing to look into if you're good with like credit cards and all that stuff. And you only use your credit cards in your business for what goes on the business. Don't be using the business to be going buying groceries and all that stuff. That's how you get in trouble. Use your business credit card for whatever you got going on in business. Don't take that and use it for anything else, right? So that's pretty much the first part of the video that I want to make about that. I'm gonna try to, it's so much more, but I don't want to make these long drawn out videos. So I'm gonna try to keep this down to a minimum and make a part 2. and I want you to look out for part 2. I'm gonna go ahead and send out part 1, so that way, you know, people can get used to it. And I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. And I appreciate everybody checking this video out. I hope that it helped, and I'm gonna try to go, like I said, try to redo part 2 right after I get finished doing this video. All right, I'm gonna check y'all out later.